I am super excited, folks. I'm super happy. I mean, I had to. It's been great. It's been phenomenal to see Colombia win the way they did. 3-0 against Costa Rica, who have absolutely nothing. And mind you, this is something that was talked about, and at times not being directly in a tournament kind of starts vindicating a lot of things that you've said in the past, saying that Costa Rica were way too long in the tooth and the younger players, really, there's been no generational turnover of note from Costa Rica. It was noted today. Yeah, people are gonna say, yeah, but Brazil. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, they did shut down Brazil. Here's the one thing: Brazil don't have players that they needed to have, and Brazil don't have the players that they used to have. Why do I say that? Because first and foremost, and this is just a quick kind of compare and contrast between two teams. Of course, they'll be facing off soon. Pereira, Andres Pereira. I'm thinking about who else. Paqueta, Bruno Guimaraes. Those aren't the type of players. They're players that can move the ball around. They can transit. They can switch it from end to end. They can move it forward. But they don't break lines. Okay? And here's where one of the things that I'm going to say might end up being people criticizing me. It's like, oh, look what you said in the past about James. Yes, I did. Yes, I have. Yes, I will. But there's one thing I've always said. I'm like, this guy has talent, man. He has a. It was funny. I was listening to the commentary, and of course, being in the U.S. on occasion, some commentators throw those American football references. It's Tom Brady with a left foot. That's what he was saying. He quarterbacked the team. That type of thing. Those kind of comparisons they were giving, and they're right in part. Because James Rodriguez did that. He was moving the ball around. He was making these pulsating passes. Costa Rica, even if they dropped back, they were still getting broken in certain lines because the ball was getting into that back line, getting into a certain area where Lucho Diaz was able to turn back around, send it back into the middle, giving it some movement inside of the area, and Costa Rica wasn't able to handle it. James does that. James forces a defense to have to go out and engage with him, to have to go and stretch themselves in order to be able to deal with that problem. And again, when they have to deal with that, you pick your poison because it's either stretching out and engaging with them at the cost of finding Lucho Diaz, of finding Borré, of finding John Cordova, who ends up scoring today. And that ends up doing. Now, between that and the stupid penalty. I mean, James also missed a goal, so that's something. But it's not him missing. It was more Sequeira, who ended up starting to look like a hero, but then also, because he goes out, commits the foul, the stupidest penalty you can ever see a goalkeeper commit. Ball was going out towards the touchline. It's already been cleared up by Francisco Calvo. Sequeira comes in and just absolutely takes out Cordova inside of the area. And just like that, the game was over. Because Lucho Diaz goes, scores the penalty. Costa Rica had no business in this game after that. They kept it competitive until that point. Until at that point, it was basically a formality, everything else. Why? Because one thing is look, there was a statistic that I was researching. Costa Rica in their last 11 matches, 3-7-1 when they get scored on first. And they usually ended up being 2-1. All those results were 2-1. Of course, Colombia scores a second, scores a third. Basically, that was basically when the final nail was in the coffin. But for the most part, Costa Rica had no business there because they never attacked. And it was funny because Miguel Angel Borja, the other day, said, it would be great if Alfaro's team shows up. It'd be great to see the Costa Rican players play because all they do is defend. Which kind of started to spice things up. Started to get Alfaro a little bit wired up, saying, no, I defend because I have to. I defend because this. I defend because I prioritize defense over attacking. I defend well so I can attack well. Well, Costa Rica, at a certain point, didn't defend well and didn't attack, period. Because after it was 1-0, then the onus was on them, and they decided to drop back and wait. Well, we'll wait for the ball to come to us, then we'll attack. And you can't do that when you're down because then Colombia just knocked the ball around on you, try and go down the wings, try and go down the middle, break you down like James did on several occasions. Set pieces, it was like a half a goal for Colombia. And I say that very purposefully because every ball that was being sent in, you would find a Colombian player, it would deflect off a Colombian player. It would end up going off a Colombian player by accident. Davinson Sanchez missed 2 clear opportunities inside of the area. Of course, ends up scoring off the corner kick. So again, when you have that many options, that many variations, that many variables to go and attack, you better make sure that defensively you're playing well. And it shows you the reality of several teams in CONCACAF. They can't keep up. It's starting to become a bit of a rude awakening for some CONCACAF teams. Some, not all. Maybe Canada would probably end up being the only one that I can say, you know what, they're a tough nut to crack. Panama could be also, but then Marcelo Bielsa wouldn't agree with me on that one. Colombia played well in all its lines. Colombia's executed well. Defensively, they're well structured. They understand where they need to go. They understand where the ball needs to go. They understand where to go in order for the ball to get to them. So everything is going well. 25 consecutive matches without conceding, without losing. That tells you something else about what this team is about. But you know what? There's one more thing. There's this certain determination and grit that I'm seeing that's a little bit different from the Colombians now. At first, it was, joyous. There's still a lot of joy to their football. There's still a lot of flair. There's still a lot of this. But then whenever, they got to put their nose to the grind, they do it. They do that. They're not afraid to. Daniel Munoz is one of them. He's an example of the grittiness of this Colombia side. Am I saying they're going to win Copa America? No, I'm not. There's still a long ways to go. And that position, that posture that I've had about being cautious or optimistically cautious or cautiously optimistic there, that still continues because we know what, or people know what the road is going ahead in terms of this Colombian national team, because their sights are already set on the next round, whether it's Uruguay, which most likely it will not be, and that's pretty much what now that everybody's trying to avoid. Uruguay and Colombia playing. Uruguay and Colombia in semis is going to be just amazing. And of course, the winner of those two most likely will probably end up playing Argentina, the way things are going right now. Although things could change drastically from now to then. Now, of course, with Colombia, they've already qualified for the next round. If Paraguay and Brazil draw, then they're guaranteed first place. And there's nothing that can change that. For Uruguay, there's still no guarantee that they're locked in first place. So that ends up being a preoccupation for the U.S. going into the next match. Of course, both of them want to play in semis. And that game is going to be just epic to me, if you ask me. It's going to be just absolutely sensational to see if it does happen. Davinson Sanchez had a great game. John Cordova had a great game. Richard Rios Richard Rios has really cemented himself as the starting holding midfielder alongside John Arias. It's great to see how he's able to connect in that sector. A team that's so solid, a team that has some fluidity. Mind you, this is unbelievable that I'm saying this, knowing what went on 2 years ago with Reynaldo Rueda and how they struggled to score. Now just options after option after option after option after option. If it's not a cross in the area, it's a ball being dribbled in. If it's not a sequence of passes, it's a corner kick or a free kick or something along those. Everybody has a chance. Everybody has an opportunity. Everybody scores in different ways. That's what makes this Colombia team different. Now, like I said, do I think they're going to win Copa America? No. Do I think they have a chance? Absolutely. Absolutely, they have a chance to win. Now, of course, I say it with caution, but I also say it with a sense of optimism, because on any day, in 90 minutes, anything can happen. And if it goes to penalties, many things can happen. But they're mentally tuned into what they have to do, not only in this tournament, but going forward, because the objective is not to get to the World Cup. And this is me having heard some of these Colombian players speak in the past few weeks. It's not to get to the World Cup. It's to do well in the World Cup. There's a big difference between that. There's a huge difference between let's just get there and then no, we're getting there and doing well. So hopefully that does end up being the case for the Colombian national team. Huge win for them. Gigantic win. Couldn't be happier, couldn't be prouder, couldn't be more amazed, and couldn't be more excited, couldn't be more optimistic about what the future has in store, at least in the short to middle term. Anything after that, then it's anyone's guess. But to me, it ends up being one of the more intriguing stories of this Copa America, seeing how Colombia's playing, and now how you start looking at them as their aspiration is, like I said before, to do well in the World Cup, but also going long term is For those people outside of South America, people here in the United States, people in Europe, when they say, who are the big teams in South America? They immediately want to be, okay, people can say Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Colombia. I mean, without you thinking, that's the mentality that this generation of players or this group of players want to be able to establish Colombia in the football world. It's bigger. You see, it's bigger than what than just winning a Copa America. It's bigger than that. It's really establishing a footballing culture within something that is greater right now. Will they do it? I don't know. Maybe, but they're on the right track at least. They're doing well, or at least the objective is well in hand and it is well focused upon. So we shall see. We shall see how that ends up playing out. What does that entail? No one knows. But for now, enjoy the ride because the going's real good. And the football is even better. So enjoy, guys. Make sure you do what you do. Share, like, everything else, all right? Talk to you soon. Ciao.